I guess the important thing is to say thank you so much to everyone that put this together, because it's really the chance of a lifetime.
Hi, I'm Juliana Barwick. I'm a musician living in Los Angeles. Made this record with Mary Lattimore, and we've been friends for years, and I've loved her music for years. And I think the first thing that comes to mind about what I like about it is that it's just singular. Like, there's no one else that sounds like Mary. And that's kind of my favorite thing about musicians that I like in general. She creates worlds, and it's very beautiful, and I love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't think I've ever told you that before.
That's really nice.
There you
nice
go.
To hear. This is like a therapy session. Hi, I'm Mary Lattimore. I am a harpist and composer. What I love about Juliana's music, well, we started out being friends because I was a fan, and I wrote her, I think it was a MySpace message back in the day, and I was like, I love what you're doing with your voice and your loops, and anytime you'd like to collaborate, please be in touch, and I really admire what you're doing. And we met up when she played Philadelphia, where I was living, and we've been friends ever since, and finally now is the time to collaborate together after so long. But what I love a lot about her music is that she's like a one-woman choir, you know, lots of layering in the moment, and I really love her instincts, you know, her natural instincts just kind of take her into places that fit in with the other layers and loops. It's kind of like being psychic, you know, where you can kind of envision what the end is going to be like, but you have to put all the parts together. I always think of it as like a confection or a concoction, kind of. It's fun to watch that being formed.
And I like the same thing about your music.
Hey, thanks.
And because we both can kind of do that in improv, it's fun to improv together too.
Well, we were approached by Alex from Infine, and Alex had done these projects before with the museum. He had this idea. He proposed that I work with the harps, but then later on he mentioned Juliana, and he's like, what if you made it a duo project or had Juliana involved in some way? And he was like, does she live in New York, or where does she live? And he didn't realize that we were good friends already, and that she lived in LA, you know, a mere 10 minutes away, and that we had been talking about doing this project. So I feel like the synchronicity of that was really magical.
We just felt like it was the most magical, like, offering from the universe, that this was all lined up and put together, and we were able to do it. Also, to be able to play these old instruments that are usually on display. And everyone at the museum was incredible. Like, everyone was so kind. Everyone was so interested. Like, at the museum, everyone would, like, you know, come say hi, and they were just so curious about what was going on, and it just felt very special.
I think it was also interesting, the fact that we could work with these instruments that were just priceless or extremely valuable without having someone hovering over us. Like, they gave us freedom to make the music with the instruments without having, like, the curators weren't in the room. There was no one being like, oh, don't touch that way. You know, they really trusted us to tune the instruments and to play them in our way without feeling too precious about it, even though in hindsight, when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, like, me tuning these harps, that's an extreme level of trust. You know, twisting it, and I could hear the wood shifting, and I would call the curator, Terry, and I would be like, I heard the wood make a sound, and he's like, Mary, you know how to tune an instrument, just don't worry. He's like, I can't come in there every time you want to tune. You know, so the level of trust was really cool.
Well, we were given a list of instruments that we could possibly use. So, there were synthesizers available. So I chose a Jupiter and a Prophet, and I chose a vocoder because that fit within the parameters of what I was going to be working with.
For me, I was given, I think it was 5 harps, and I chose that one, and then there were 2 of the early pedal harps that were just extremely beautiful, extremely ornate, and I mainly worked with those. Since I use a lot of loops and stuff, I wanted to choose instruments that would also lend itself to my own personal style. So that was kind of a challenge where it's like, okay, I want to play the ancient instruments, but I still have to use them with electronics, And so these 2 pedal harps, I was like, okay, I can get both the flavor of the historic instrument mixed with our style of making music. We're gonna probably have to do a combo of ancient and modern harp, but the concert might have an element of, when I spoke with Alex from Infine, he kind of suggested a pedagogical aspect to the concert where we kind of present the instruments by themselves so you can kind of hear how they sound.
That's
cool. Without really relying fully on the looping and the amplification that we use in our modern music to really be the same with these ancient instruments. So I think it's going to be a little bit malleable, like a concert like no other that we will play with this music.
And also just to be back in the place where it was all made with the people that work at the museum that we grew so close to. I think it'll be really special, really magical to be back.
We hope to make the museum and the Philharmonie proud, presenting this to the world.
Couldn't say it any better than that. Yeah, it was a perfect experience, and yeah, it's an unforgettable time.